Get the shovel. Monday.
To shake the table there.
Eh. Just no, it's a Monday. It's a Monday.
How was
If you
your
haven't
weekend?
If you haven't seen this yet, Paul Thropp, you should definitely watch it. Steven Sinofsky, sometime over the weekend or whatever, recently posted a video. It was almost like an inspirational of what Windows 8 was gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
and
Was it going
hilariously,
to be better than it was?
it had a start button, had a full taskbar of a typical variety. And I'm assuming that's before they started drinking because I don't know where it went wrong. So,
Oh, they handed it off to the designers, none of whom were formally trained in design.
yes, or
I think might
they
have
were
been
all
part
Mac
of it.
users more than likely. Like, it's like, what do
Mm-hmm.
these Windows people need a start button for? We don't have one on the Mac. Let's get
Let's
rid of
move
it.
the closed window to the other side of the window.
There were a
Yeah.
lot of
Okay.
tragedies.
I've not seen this or heard of it.
I just
I
saw it
guess
this
I'll.
morning, so it's
Okay.
it's
I'll try to look at it. I have a hard time looking at,
mhm. One of the great national nightmares appears to be coming to an end, Paul Thropp. This is very exciting news. USB has finally decided, you know what, maybe not, maybe none of our standards make sense. So we're just going to come out with new logos, and that'll clear it up.
Well, when USB was like 1 gigabit or whatever the speed was, I mean, I'm sure super speed made sense as a name. Now super speed is like the slowest kind of
Mm-hmm.
USB, I think. Um, they don't help themselves. I mean, they at one point renamed all the USB 3.x's into like 3.2 Gen something something,
Mm-hmm.
and USB 4 has no space between USB and the 4 for the first time for some reason. So yeah, I think um, advertising or promoting or whatever USB with the speed does make sense. It is simpler, but of course it's the USB implementers forum, so there's like 18 charts with 16 different logos on each of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think, well, I don't know what I think. Look, this has been confusing from day one. So go back in time to when USB 1 and 2 were still a thing. You'd get a laptop that had some of each.
Mm-hmm.
Flash forward to today, I have laptops in my house right now that have multiple USB-C ports. Sometimes they're Thunderbolt 4, sometimes they're just USB 3.2 Gen something something. Who cares? And they have different capabilities, different transfer speeds. Color was fun for a little while. Remember,
Yeah.
we had yellow and blue
Mm-hmm.
inside the port for different different versions. I don't remember which was which. Who cares? I mean, we spent a lot of time discussing companies who are busy solving the problems they created. This is a good example of that. It is simpler. Asterisks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not simple, I guess, is what I would say.
And then if that's not enough, there's also the confusing mix of how much power it's actually outputting as well. So don't forget that some are low power,
Yep.
some are quick charge,
That's right. Yeah.
and yeah.
That's another big issue, by the way. As USB-C ports can accommodate more wattage from bigger power supplies, they're not stuck at 65 watts or 90 watts or whatever. You're seeing beefy USB power supplies that can support whatever. I don't know what the theoretical or real world max is, but it's somewhere in the 100 something. And but we have like USB docks and things, and they do pass through power and up to a certain amount. It depends. There's a lot of, and here's a problem. You have this problem. I bet everyone listening to this has this problem. So in your home, if you could somehow find every single USB-C port, just USB-C cable, sorry, that you have, try to what that cable can do.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, there's got to be boxes you can buy that test throughput speeds and maybe even capabilities, maybe. But the reality is, it's gotten so convoluted now that most of us would be best off just throwing away everything we have and buying brand new cables that we know are to some standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except that that's not free.
Yeah. Or really, just I'd also make an argument that like most people probably just don't care. I mean, there's definitely a group that says I
Well,
absolutely want the
yeah.
fastest charging cables ever, and then there's people like my wife who are like, I just need it to charge. I don't care.
I that last sentiment should be something all of us can say and know with certitude that it happens. So for example, you can buy like an Anchor replacement power
Hmm.
supply, whatever that thing is, the brick, varying wattages, right? All of them are smaller than, like, say, the Apple power chargers that they ship with MacBooks and iPads and things like that, or provide for. Um, they have they go to varying degrees of power and so forth. So you could buy like one USB thing, maybe it has two ports on it. It could go up to 100 and I don't know the numbers. I'm sorry, 170 maybe, or whatever the number is. This thing could charge at full speed, perhaps, depending on which one you have. A MacBook and an iPad, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But you need, like, every single thing needs to be in place for that to happen. Like the cables have to be right, that power thing has to be right, you know. And there's a lot to look up. It's hard to know. Like I just bought an Apple Watch, right? So I can do fast charging over this thing, but I need a brick, and I think it has to. I've heard different things, 20 or 30 watts, one
Yeah,
of the two. Okay, I don't. It's
yeah.
confusing. That's all.
I
It's
know
too
that
bad.
sometime, probably early next year, before we start traveling again, before spring break and our next trip, I'm going to end up buying probably two of those Anchor ones that have the multiple
Yeah.
ports on it, just because of
Yep.
the simplicity of having to charge all that stuff. I'm
That's right.
not quite there yet to be able to take just USB-C cables, but even just getting
This
two wall boards that probably
one
have
plug
four
with two
ports.
or three or whatever
Yeah,
ports, yeah, is an incredible thing, especially if you're in a hotel or on the road, whatever it is, on a plane. If you have power.
yeah,
I have a small one, an Anchor one. It's probably this big. I can't see it. This big. It's two ports, USB-C. It does
hmm,
full. I can do an iPad and an iPhone full speed. Right.
yeah,
I don't think it can do a computer. I don't think it's that good, but you can get a little nano thing that does one, but it's like a tiny little guy, and I don't know the numbers anymore. They just released new versions, but they go pretty high wattage wise. I mean, not laptop high, but like the thing you're talking about, like I mentioned earlier, it's probably like a
hmm,
MacBook Pro plug shape style, but it will have multiple ports and laptop, phone, or whatever. Nice. You know.
yep. It's probably where we'll end up.
There's going to be an incredible upgrade cycle, dude, when Apple does go USB-C on the iPhone, and no doubt there'll be an AirPod Pro case that you can replace and get USB-C on that, and
Yeah, so
that's also
fortunately,
Lightning.
well, the latest whatever AirPod Pro case, even the AirPod 2s now at least do Qi charging, and I think
That's
the
right,
latest Pros can at least use their MagSafe charger. So it's like we're
and we'll work with the Apple Watch charger,
yeah,
actually. So it's neat having that choice, but I mean, but the physical plug is still Lightning for some reason. iPhone, obviously, embarrassingly, is still Lightning, especially for anyone shooting on advanced photo formats or whatever. Trying to imagine pulling a video off of that thing.
hmm,
You'd be better off just uploading it to the cloud. But
yeah,
anyway, it's going to happen. This will happen, and the landfills will rejoice.
yep. And the only other thing worth mentioning, which is something I've griped about before, which Phil Spencer chimed in on Twitter, which Phil Spencer runs Xbox, if you're not familiar, whatever,
Sure.
is being able to turn off Quick Resume. I'd prefer it per title, but it
Per
looks like
title,
they're at
yes.
least going to start looking into that finally.
Oh, I thought that's what it was. I thought it was per title.
It could be per title, but just even blanket turning it off, just because the games that I play, it's
Oh,
not good.
okay. So, I'm surprised you can't turn it off. I've never looked into this, but
Nope.
interesting. So okay, I need to do that. Okay, that's the first step for sure.
Yep.
I'd like to see it per title.
Per title would be
In
preferred.
fact, what it should do is say, "Hey, it looks like this thing's taking a long time, or whatever. Do you want us to turn it off for this game?" And you
Well, it's
would
not
say
even
yes.
it's not even that. It's if
Mhm.
you have a title that is basically only multiplayer. What it does is so like I was playing Call of Duty last night with some friends. I shut my Xbox off. When I turn it back on, it actually puts me back into that same lobby, but the whole session ID has a collapse because Activision's not going to keep that open for
Oh,
12
okay.
hours. And so what happens is you log in and it says, "Oh, this session has expired. You need to log out and log back in." So what you have to do is open the game, kill the game, reopen the
Yeah, yeah.
game. So,
So I've actually experienced a version of this every single day since this was a feature, and I never really even thought anything about it. So I also experienced the same thing, but because I play whatever multiplayer nonsense I play.
Hmm.
I don't remember. It's weird because I see it every day. I don't remember the name of it, but it says something like this game session has expired,
Yes, that's
and you
exactly what it
click
is.
OK or whatever, and then it just goes back to the home screen, and you go through the game anyway. So
Yep.
to me, that isn't a huge deal.
No, it's
I
not.
just I sort of thought of it as normal.
No, it's not a huge deal, but it's one of those things like, hey, you could make this better through it with, again, easy to say this from an external perspective. Just give us a toggle.
Well, you could make it better as a game developer.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something well, I shouldn't say that. I assume this is something. Like, how do you get into this? Is it just some automatic process?
I
Like
think
your
it's just
game seems
automatic,
to
yeah.
work. See, that's not good. I mean, this is something a developer should be able to say okay to, and perhaps even customize in some way, right, for their particular game. That's
Hmm.
interesting. Anyhow,
So,
okay, that's good. That's a good thing.
so, considering he said it, I'm assuming it'll happen at some point. So,
He said the Activision Blizzard acquisition was going to happen at some point, so I guess we will also accept that as the word of law.
well, November 8th, the EU will come out with their ruling, which
It's just
will
going to be a clip of the guy from Jurassic Park laughing, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Or maybe I'm confusing that with the Saw movies. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
One of those things.
It's a Monday.
Similar levels of quality.